Are you ready?
Yep.
Good morning, America.
Morning.
If you assumed Sophie Cunningham's spotlight would dim during the off-season, think again. From her podcast, to brand commercials, to recurring national television appearances, she has rapidly solidified herself as one of the most recognizable and marketable personalities in the league. But now, shockingly, it appears her time in Indiana could be nearing an end. On a recent podcast episode, Sophie dropped a surprising statement that cast major doubt over her future with the Fever. And fans, already frustrated with the franchise for failing to fully maximize and appreciate Caitlin Clark's value, are asking the obvious question. Are they seriously about to lose the one player who publicly defended Caitlin? Let's break down what just happened with Sophie, what she's expecting in her next contract, and the two major ways the Fever could completely mishandle this situation. But first, drop a like on this video if you think Indiana should re-sign Sophie, and tell me in the comments if you disagree. This offseason, Sophie has been everywhere. Most recently, she appeared at a NASCAR event in Phoenix, where she was seen alongside none other than Sydney Sweeney, who drew headlines in that now famous sheer dress. And it's not just events she's showing up for. Sophie is capitalizing on her spotlight. She was featured front and center in a new Adidas campaign promoting Damian Lillard's latest signature shoe, solidifying herself as one of the most marketable faces in the WNBA right now.
Sophie Cunningham?
I'm busy.
Wow! Thank you.
And of course, she also made an appearance on Good Morning America, repping Arby's like a seasoned brand ambassador.
Normally, I don't use this. I kind of just go in.
Rip it out. Oh, you did the big bite.
I did. It's so good. So good.
Sure, she didn't make Forbes' list of the most powerful women in American sports, where Caitlin Clark placed at number 4, alongside names like Nafisa Collier, Brianna Stewart, and Aja Wilson. But let's be real. Outside of Caitlin Clark, it's hard to find another player with broader appeal among casual sports fans than Sophie. And here's why.
That's a flagrant foul. It's a hard foul.
You could easily argue that Caitlin Clark hitting 3 3-pointers in 38 seconds against the Liberty was the basketball moment of the 2025 season. And yes, the rubber objects thrown onto the court was definitely the season's strangest moment. But the single most defining moment belonged to Sophie Cunningham, when she absolutely leveled J.C. Sheldon. Up to that point, players across the league had taken cheap shots at Caitlin Clark, and nobody stepped in to defend her. The frustration had been growing for weeks, the disrespect, the silence, and finally someone stood up for the face of the league. That was the moment Sophie Cunningham elevated from fan favorite to folk hero. Her jerseys sold out. Her follower count skyrocketed. Overnight, she jumped from being viewed as a role player to being a focal point of national sports discussion, and she stayed there through her podcast, her pregame fits, her TikToks, and her perfectly timed viral sound bites. But here's the key point. The value she created didn't just boost her own brand, she massively elevated the Fever as well. A recent report revealed that the Indiana Fever now possessed the most valuable social media presence in the entire WNBA, at $55 million. For comparison, the Dallas Wings are second at just $8.6 million. Angel Reese and the Sky ranked 5th. The gap is enormous. And with Caitlin out for much of the season, meaning fewer highlight packages and viral clips, there's no question that a significant portion of that value came directly from Sophie.
Look, the Indiana Fever did not quit posting social media content involving Caitlin Clark. They still continuously posted stuff. But that does show you the power of a Sophie Cunningham as well. We've talked about her on Google Trends and sort of like where she ranks in the echelon. I believe she was like the 3rd most searched WNBA player in the league for a certain span of months. And that all has monetary value.
And the reality is, Sophie is only just beginning to tap into her potential. She is a sports marketer's dream, a fierce competitor who makes meaningful impact on the court, and someone who naturally draws attention off of it.
But don't kid yourselves. Being good-looking helps. It helped Tom Brady. I mean, go down the list of good-looking male athletes that have been bankable and that have gone on to make a lot of money. Michael Jordan, being good-looking dudes and being great players. Sophie Cunningham, I think she's next up. She is the next superstar in the WNBA. Sophie Cunningham international sports celebrity.
With Caitlin and Sophie, the Fever have something no other team in the league can claim. The two most marketable stars in the WNBA, both with major crossover appeal. But here's the catch. Caitlin is locked in for at least 2 more seasons. Sophie is not. Her contract has expired. She is officially a free agent. From a business standpoint, this should be the simplest decision the Fever front office makes. Re-signing Sophie isn't just beneficial, it's profitable, and it makes just as much sense on the court. With Caitlin sidelined, Indiana had to rely on other players to push them to the playoffs. And before her injury, Sophie was one of the biggest reasons they got there.
Right here, September the 11th, is when Sophie Cunningham went on an absolute tirade. She went on a path of destruction. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 games where when this team was still trying to make the playoffs, she went bananas. That first game right there, 16 points, 10 rebounds, 13, 11, 12, 15, 15, 12, 17, 18 points, 16 points, 14 points.
She may not be the fastest player on the floor or the leading scorer every night, but when you evaluate the complete picture, her skill set, leadership, toughness, and the energy she brings both on and off the court, Sophie Cunningham is nearly impossible to replace with a single player.
Sophie Cunningham had her best season of her career last year. Sophie Cunningham, you could argue, was the best player on the Fever in the Commissioner's Cup final when they won. And there were big games when the Phoenix Mercury, when they went to Phoenix, and we looked shell-shocked. We looked shell-shocked against Phoenix. They destroyed us. The only reason it wasn't a 45-point game was Sophie Cunningham willing the Fever back into that game by herself. And I'm looking at this, and people are so like, oh, she's just a clout chaser. People are so like against Sophie Cunningham personally, some people, that you fail to realize she is literally irreplaceable.
And regarding her injury, there is no real concern. Sophie is already back to training, moving well, and is expected to be fully ready by the start of next season. So health isn't the question. The only question is whether the Fever are smart enough to keep her, which is why this next part is so concerning for Fever fans. On her podcast, when discussing her next contract, Sophie made a statement that clearly signaled uncertainty about returning to Indiana.
I love it, and I think the next team I play for, I want a bigger contract, so then I can buy a house and be homey and cozy.
Fuck yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. That's crazy. That could be the Liberty. It could be New York City. It could also be the Lynx, and it could be Minneapolis. Like, you just don't know.
It could be
When she ends her statement with "it could be anywhere," that does not sound like someone fully committed to returning. It's one thing to acknowledge the business side of sports privately, but saying it publicly on your own podcast is intentional. It's a message, which raises the key question: what exactly is she asking for? She mentioned that she wants to buy a house. And yes, some fans may argue that her income from endorsements far exceeds her WNBA salary. But buying a house signals that she wants stability, a long-term fit, not a short-term stop. She wants years, not months. And financially, she's simply looking for a contract that reflects her actual value to the franchise.
Now the question is, what is she talking about as far as the deal goes? Are we talking $400,000 a year over the next 4 years? That's house money. That's enough for a house. $600,000 per year over the next 4 years. What, a 4-year, $24 million contract? $2.4 million contract, excuse me. 4-year, $2.4 million contract. She gets $600,000 a year. That's enough for a house. So it doesn't necessarily need to be a max contract to get Sophie Cunningham to stay on the Indiana Fever. It just needs to be a quality contract. We respect what you've done for our franchise contract. We understand what you contribute to this team contract. We're not going to undervalue your contribution to contract. That's all it needs to be.
No one knows exactly what the next CBA will bring in terms of cap space or max contracts. But one thing is obvious: Sophie isn't seeking a max deal, and no team is offering her one anyway. But what is true is this: she is loyal. She shows up in big moments, she defends her teammates, and she is a marketing powerhouse. This should be a no-brainer, a slam dunk for Indiana. So how could they mess this up?
That we want to sustain the growth and the interest level in the franchise. I mean, this is about the Indiana Fever. Yes, we have a foundational player in Caitlin Clark and Leah Boston, and we're going to continue to add to that. But I want this team to be the leader in the country, and a brand, an enduring brand, like Apple or something. I mean, we have a real opportunity here.